Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, we're going to do a pretty lavender buttercream rosette butterfly cake for a quinceanera. We have a lot of quinceaneras in our area, so they're very similar to wedding cakes in their decoration, and they tend to be a little bit more on the traditional side. And I don't do a whole lot of traditional typically, so I thought, why don't we just do that for this video? Let's take a little break from the modern and let's do something more traditional. So all of my layers, all of my cake tiers have been filled, layered, and crumb coated just to save a little time on the video. And I just colored this buttercream with lavender. I made the lavender by using a little bit of purple and a little bit of pink. That's how you can easily mix lavender. And it is my traditional American buttercream. And each tier I am putting into the refrigerator or the freezer. Typically for me, it's the freezer in between each stage of the game. I do the freezer because typically I'll be working on one while the other one's in the freezer. So I can kind of just conveyor belt each step as I go. I do the same step on each tier in succession. Now that I have my tier completely chilled, I am marking where the rosettes are going to be, the rows of rosettes. Back in the day when I first started doing cakes and first actually got into weddings, I did a lot of rosettes. And I found a technique that works really well for me. I split the tier into thirds. Then I use a 1M Wilton tip. And I thicken my buttercream just a little bit so that the rosettes hold their shape. But not so much that you can't squeeze the bag. And what I do is I do all my rosettes in the same pattern, the same direction, and I take that tail out just a little ways so that it kind of fills in. If you have problems with gaps in between your rosettes, if you bring that tail all the way around and slightly into where the next rosette's going to be, then that fills in that spot. And that has worked really well for me. And I like to squeeze the bag pretty hard to get that kind of ruffled look on the rosettes. I personally like that better. I feel like it's a little softer and a little prettier. That's just my personal preference. And there I was just refilling my piping bag. I like to use the large piping bag because you use a lot of buttercream when you pipe these rosettes. It takes more buttercream than you think it's going to, and I hate having to stop every 3 or 4 rosettes and refill my bag. So I just use the bigger bag. I think this is a 20-inch bag, and I just fill it nice and full. Now this top edge of the rosettes, to have a softer look on them, I just bring it up and over the edge just a little bit. And I think that just kind of gives it a nice finish. And each row of rosettes are alternating from the ones below them. Now here's this tool again. I just used this tool recently. Could not find a link for it. It's to create Swiss dot pattern. And I don't know if they just don't make it anymore. But guys, this really makes my life so much easier. And I really want to find it. If anybody can help me with this. I filmed this before I realized that I can't find these now. But I'm not going to waste the footage. It's still worth showing you the video. But, yeah, I need to find this tool. So what I'm doing, if we can find it, is I'm just marking the dots. Because that tool has the little prongs that stick out. And I have some different sizes, too. But they don't say on the tool, I just looked today, they don't say on the tool what it's called for me to find them again. But anyway, our tier is chilled so that I can mark on it without marring up the rest of the buttercream. And what I'm doing is I'm just lining up from the row beneath it, making sure that your next row around is alternating from the row below it. So you're not just getting squares. You're wanting them dots in between the row below it. I hope that makes sense. And then I'm using some silver dragées inside the dots. That's how I'm marking them. See, it's a quilting pattern without the lines. It's just the dots. Please, somebody help me find where I can get a link to share that tool with everybody. So I did not have quite enough of the dragées, so I end up having at the end to switch to white. But I will fix that in a second here. And sorry, my footage just moved there. I didn't even have to add anything underneath these dragées because the cake, since it's coming from the freezer, gets a little condensation on it as it sits at room temperature, and that's enough to get the dragées to stick. If you're working with fondant or if you do not chill your cakes, you're just going to want to do a little dab of water or piping gel where you're placing your dragées. Now, since I ran out of the silver, I just went back in. They're the same size dragées, just different colors. I made a paint with silver luster dust and Everclear. And I'm just painting over the white. And since it's slightly different in color, I went back over the other ones to get them the color matching. This really doesn't take long at all. It might look like it's really time consuming, but I'm only I'm loading my brush up with some of the paint, and then I'm just touching the top surface, and then it kind of seeps around the dragées. And even if you don't get the sides covered, nobody's going to notice that. You look at it from the front. So don't even worry about that. Don't waste your time on that at all. And then that paint is going to dry very quickly. Now we're stacking our tiers, and I'm using the large plastic dowels on an outside circle of 5 and then an inside circle of 5 with the boba tea straws. I'm just making sure that they're below the surface. They're all cut to exactly the same height. I know you can go in and cut them once they've been inserted and lift them up and cut them, but I like them to be the same height before I put them in. So I put one in, measure it, cut it, and then I cut everything else to the same height. And you'll see on that other tier, I had lifted up 2 or 3 of the straws before I put the next tier on. And that's to give your fingers room to put your next tier on top. And the weight of the cake is going to push those straws right back down. That's why I push them in and then I pull them back out again, because then it's kind of like a pre-drilled hole. Your straw is going to go sink down a little easier. Then I filled in between the tiers just with a little bit of buttercream, just a small hole cut in the bag, and then I smooth it down. And I even do that on tiers typically. I don't think I had to on this one I'm working on right now, but typically I will do that on every tier, even if there's a ribbon. But this time I didn't have to. It was just flush. And I just am attaching the ribbon with just some buttercream. And I did put some ribbon on the board. So it's very matchy. The lavender is all the way through. Now before I do my bling band, I realized it was going to be up taller than the Swiss dots, taller than the dragées. So I removed that bottom row and I filled in the holes just by piping a little bit more of that buttercream and using a wet brush to smooth it down. And then I'm attaching the bling with more buttercream. You could use piping gel if you want, but I find that the buttercream works just fine. And then I pushed a sharpened dowel all the way through, even through the boards at the bottom, the drum. And that's what stabilizes the cake very well, even for transportation. And then I'm just attaching these butterflies with some buttercream. There were going to be flowers at the venue. I did not have access to them. So I went ahead and just added the butterflies. But you will see that at the end, I insert pictures. Addie delivered the cake, and she took pictures of, well, we'll see in a second here. But I did take these off. I just put these on for the video because I wasn't sure if I was going to have pictures of the finished product. But here we see it with the tiara on top and no flowers. And in this picture, we have the flowers and the butterflies. And just multiple angles. Addie liked to take the pictures of this. She really liked it. But it was a really pretty color scheme. So here's our end product in multiple angles. I hope you liked it, guys. I hope it was nice to have something a little bit different. And I hope you learned something. And we'll catch you on the next one.